and they actually are home, but I wanted to make sure I was did my casting earlier rather than later. Woo. Just because it's, well, you know, people are trying to relax in the evening or whatever. I don't want to be yelling and screaming at my computer and causing a ruckus. So usually I don't cast when they're around at all, but I just decided I hadn't done enough games lately. I wanted to cast this set. It's been lying around on my computer for a few days. I think this games are, let's see, when were they played? They were played on the 18th, so yeah, it's been 4 days, almost 5 days or something like that. Anyway, we have Leta, we have Leta trying to do a little bit of a push here. He's getting his third base going. Both players getting their third bases at exactly the same time, actually, and they're both getting their macro on. Now, both getting 6 factories, it looks like. I didn't see if Midas had a 7th or something like that. But Leta is pushing in here on the right, trying to put some pressure on here. Midas set up his tanks at just the last moment. By the way, I mentioned earlier that Midas was a player for SKT1, but I just remembered that I forgot to say that he's actually changed teams. He's no longer SKT1. He's now on WemadeFOX. He got traded recently, but just thought I'd mention that while it came to mind before I forgot. But yeah, so Midas got his tank set up right there to defend just in time, and so the push was not able to go off. So now there's kind of a little bit of a stalemate going on at the top area, a little bit to the right of the center, and now there's actually kind of a long firing line kind of dividing the map vertically. If you look at the minimap, you can kind of see a streak of red and a streak of orange kind of going down the center of the map, establishing kind of the firing lines there. And uh-oh, he's unsieged. Are we going to see Midas? Uh-oh, Vulture's coming in while he's unsieged. The Wraith's attacking the Vultures, but a bunch of Vultures get by. He's probably going to be able to kill a bunch of SCVs here. He does kill off, so far, several SCVs. The Goliaths are in the area. They're going to be able to push them back, and now he's going to run straight into enemy tanks and not going to be able to get enough kills to really make that worthwhile, in my opinion. He only killed like 3 SCVs, I think, and that would not be worth it. Maybe if he got 4 or 5, I didn't see perfectly. But caught him just at the right moment. He was moving, Midas was moving his orange tanks up a little bit to try and protect that area a little bit better. And just at that moment, those Vultures were running through. He's still got those couple Wraiths around. We've seen them kind of poke in and do an attack here and there, but not really. This is kind of keeping them in reserve, and he hasn't lost them yet, which is good that he hasn't thrown them away or anything like that. I think they're the same Wraiths. They could be different ones. So this would be a good opportunity to use them, though, because he's got no Goliaths on those tanks right now. He could soften that up, kill off one of the tanks, or if get a couple hits. Oh, wow. And that is why you don't have your mech army on move. You gotta A-move them, because when they're on A-move, they can pretty much take out mines before they can hit you. But I think he had some of them on move instead of A-move, and lost some of them. Dropships are now in play, 3 of them for Leta, so he could be seeing a transition to dropship play here. It's a kind of a mobile map. You can move your forces around a lot, so dropships aren't quite as important, but they're still going to be important in the later game, and so that's what we see. But it's interesting that Leta is kind of transitioning first. Oftentimes, if the other player has too many Goliaths, you're not going to make that transition into the dropships, because the dropships are just going to get picked off by Goliaths or something like that. But I think the game has gone on long enough that he stopped making as many Goliaths, so the dropships are going to be more effective. So that's kind of why we see that there, I believe. Now Midas starting to make dropships as well, but Leta already has 4 dropships in play. That could be that's a lot of forces he could drop. He scanned that location. He sees. I wish he would drop a Goliath in there, do a Goliath bomb, because there's a mine right there. He could blow up so much stuff. It'd be awesome. Probably not an effective use of his time though, because it might not work. He's more focused on the macro than the little things like that. Anyway, there's the dropships. Instead, he's just going to try and do a major drop on that area in general, try and take out that whole army. But where is he going to go? The turrets are almost up. He needs to get out of that turret range before it finishes. He is going to get out of the range. The Goliaths are going to catch those dropships on the way. There's the Wraiths as well. He's going to have to fall back. Oh man, he's gonna have to fall back, and the Wraiths are still probably gonna get one of the dropships. He's dropping out tanks. Why isn't he dropping out a Goliath? And flying through turret fire. This is horrible. He's dropping out all these tanks, but all he needed to do was drop out a Goliath, and Comsat would have gotten the Wraiths off of his tail, but he didn't. Kept dropping out tanks for them to die. That was kind of a silly thing to do, dropping out tanks for no reason. I mean, he was just trying to get them out of the dropship that was dying. I guess he was trying to escape with this whole force, and so he didn't want to drop out anything any more than was necessary, but I think that dropship was about to die, so he dropped the tanks out just to save the tanks at least. You see, get a couple shots off before they died. We've got +2 ground weapons for Midas right now, by the way. I haven't seen, I'll try and look for the upgrades on Leta's forces. Let's see, but Midas coming in with a big attack here at a weak point, and Midas's defense, Leta's defense, Leta's bringing some forces down, but I don't think he quite has enough, and Midas is gonna take that position resoundingly. With a bunch of tanks, he's going to definitely take control of this kind of lower right chunk of the map here, and that is really bad for Leta. That is right outside of his choke. We just saw his natural choke there, his natural expansion, is now sieged up. Oh, where is he going to go? Is he going to try and go in some more? Nope, he can't quite move out there. But he has control of that lane leading out of Midas's base, so he can't really move forces on the ground out of there. He does have those dropships still, though, so it's not too bad of a position. And actually, he could drop that bottom left very easily, or he could drop. Oh, he should drop all on top of those tanks. If he was able to unload his forces on top of those tanks, he could destroy that so easily, unsiege his stuff there, drop on top of those, and move in his forces at the same time. Oh, he could slaughter Midas's army, and that is the stuff that TVT wins are made of. That is how you win these large TVT games, is by moves like that, where you can just take out the other guy's army with something tactical, because otherwise it ends up being a big siege game. And he needs to do something like that, because if you just look at the minimap right now, you can see how much map control Midas has at the moment. He's got, I mean, that initial siege line was kind of a little bit to the right of the center, and it's still there, and it's been pushed back in a couple locations. So basically, Midas has 2/3 of the map, and Leta only has 1/3 of the map on the right. And Midas is starting to set up more bases as well. So Leta needs to do something and start stomping on expansions right now, or he's going to lose the long game. There's just nothing that he's just going to be able to not keep up with macro. I mean, we see 4 more factories going down in the field for Midas, and that just represents how he's gotten control of an extra expansion or 2. I think he's gotten the 12 o'clock expansion up and running as well, whereas Leta does not have the 6 o'clock. Here he comes in. Here he comes in with a big drop. He could have timed that a little bit better, but he's going in with a bunch of forces here. Forces dropped all over those tanks, and oh, it's not quite enough to do. Well, I mean, it's enough to defeat the whole army. Wasn't quite enough to be a complete slaughter, but now Midas is bringing in his forces from below. Mines are being planned. He's going to try and kill those tanks with mines. He kills off a few with the mines there, but it looks as if Midas is going to be able to retain control of the high ground, though. Leta has had to siege up on that low ground, and Midas maintains control of the high ground. One or the other player could try and make a move, though, but it looks like they're content to just kind of camp that location there. Actually, Leta could make a move very easily up that ramp, because Midas has not sieged on top of that location, so he could easily siege that location and be fine. Okay, now he's sieged up. We're seeing, I think, a BC switch here. Yeah, BC switch. So Midas has probably a maxed army right now, and he feels that he's got enough of an advantage, enough money coming in, that he can switch over to BCs. When another player is entrenched too much, that's what tanks. I mean, that's what the BCs are really for. Is when the other player is really, really entrenched, you can Yamato and use it to kind of dig them out of their trench. So that's, I mean, that's kind of the basis behind the switch to BCs, but also it's just that they can be more effective later on. You need to make sure you keep some tanks and stuff, otherwise the other guy can just run you over with Goliaths. It's kind of like, yeah, kind of like the carriers and dragoons combination, where anyway. But yeah, so if you don't have if you don't have some tanks with your army, with your BCs, or at least a tank line set up, then the other player can still overrun you with Goliaths pretty easily. So, but we are seeing a switch to BCs, and usually the guy that switches to BCs earlier has a bit of an advantage. The thing is probably what's going to happen is when he realizes it, and actually hold that thought, he's coming in with a big attack trying to break this northern expansion, doing a very good job, and all of his forces are spread out across the map. So that's another kind of a good way of making an attack in TVT is usually you have these long lines of defensive points, these long defensive tank lines, and one way to break that is to focus more of your troops in one location and hit a weak point on their line of tanks and attack like that. And that's exactly what we just saw, but usually sometimes that'll leave your position open in somewhere else, because if you're focusing that much of your army in one location, that means another location is weak, and so it kind of works both ways. But it's going to be really effective for